I said I was gonna keep him a secret, but he's here with me at the beginning. Welcome, Tassel. I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me. My first open
Of
mic, so I'm
course.
still excited.
Yeah, I was thinking about that before we had you on or before putting a guest on today, and I was like, you know what? This has to happen now because we've been doing so many game nights together, and also I've joined you on the Let's Play a couple of times, so it only felt right to have you on to get to know you a little bit better as well. So I'm really excited to dive into everything with you today.
Me too.
I'm Sharina. I'm the creative producer of My Neighbor Alice. I hope that you have seen me here before. So today we're going to be chatting with our awesome community manager, Tassel. So let's just jump right in. Um,
Sounds great. Let's do it.
yeah. So you recently became, I guess, like it's been a couple months now that you've been our community manager, but I wanted to start from the very beginning and just get to know your background a little bit and ask you how you originally got into gaming.
Oh, that's a big one. It would not be an exaggeration to say that I've been playing video games my entire life. I got my first video game console when I was so young, and I've been playing ever since. I used to go to the arcade and play video games. I remember digging through my mom's couch and scrounging through her car looking for change so that I met my best friend in high school because we like to play the same games. I married his sister. That's the cupcake, my wife.
Oh,
So
wow.
her through because of my video game history. Yeah, it's not an exaggeration. It's not a hobby for me. It's a way of life. It takes up a good chunk of it's my personality. Um, it's even like how I, express myself, how I decorate my home, how I bond with my kids. We play video games together. We go out and see the new game, the new Mario's and Sonics when they come out. Yeah, so it's just um, I'm a video game person, and I always have been.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I've heard so many stories about people like meeting a lot of their like core group, like core support system groups through gaming, whether it's
Hmm.
like making like many friends or yeah, like relationships, just like connecting with people that you probably wouldn't have had the chance to connect with, unless it had to do with gaming. So that's really cool that you've just built your whole life basically since you were young on gaming.
Yeah, I don't remember a time when video games were not a part of it. I mean, I do a lot of other things as well, but I'd say if my life was a portfolio, I'd say it takes up about 30% of my portfolio.
Yeah.
It's a good
That's
chunk of
awesome. Yeah. What were some of your favorite games to play when you were younger?
So the very first game I ever remember playing was the very first Mario. So I played that in the late '80s. So yes, I've been playing for 4 decades now. Uh, and yeah, so and I was hooked. I remember that I couldn't afford a Nintendo back then, so but my neighbors had one, so I'd go over there, and then all of a sudden I was like best friends with him. I'd go over and hang out every day to hang out with my friend.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
but yeah, so Mario and Donkey Kongs and Zeldas, those are the ones that kind of me into it. But I play every type of pretty much all genres. I love first person shooters and racing games and RPGs like the Final Fantasies and Zeldas, and I love building games. Obviously, if you guys haven't noticed, so Minecraft and my time at Porsche, Valheim, like I could go on and on and on, but I play it all. Yeah, it's kind of I have a
Wow.
very broad reach of games that I play.
Yeah, I mean that's great. I You have a lot of a rich history in gaming, let's say.
Yeah.
Um, we just had like sometimes we do these internal like team building meetings on Alice. And so last week we had one and we played, I think it's called, forgive me for my terrible accent in pronouncing this, everyone who is listening, Sauerbraten. I think it's like a German. Have you heard of this? It's a first
No, I
person shooter
haven't.
game.
No, please educate me. What's it about?
Oh my god, it was hilarious. It's a first person shooter game. We're part of teams and you can pick different levels. And you basically have to like protect your team's flag. It's kind of like capture the flag.
Okay.
Um yeah, so you're just like running back and forth trying to get each other's flags, but I kept dying. I kept dying. It was so bad. I couldn't even. I would like come back to life, and then all of a sudden, boom! I was just dead again. I'm like, okay, someone's like a sharpshooter on the other team, or I just suck that bad. Um, and then
Sometimes it
we
happens.
it happens to me often. I'll tell you. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. But I just saw one of our comments from Nick40, and he said he's introverted, so gaming helps him socialize. So that's also something to touch on too, because I know the topic often comes up in the Web3 community that like PFPs obviously are very prevalent here. Everybody has PFPs, but a lot of the time we want to get to know the people behind the PFP, and I know that that can be hard sometimes. So it's really nice that gaming provides a space for everybody to kind of like get to know each other without having to do it face to face all the time, which is
I
really nice.
completely agree with that, and it gives you like a shared goal too. So it's one thing you can get on and you can chat if that's all you want to do, and I can relate to that. Sometimes you maybe don't feel like talking like you said if you're a little introverted, it's kind of you can be a little bit more yourself. You can express yourself differently when you're kind of behind a screen and maybe just out farming at the same time as you're doing it. It's a different outlet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even for us, like live streaming was quite new for us before we started doing Allison and Chill and open mic and Let's Play. So you and I have gotten really used to it. It just takes some time, and like that's why I'm really glad that you're here because we can dive deeper into how you became community manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so you have a rich history in gaming. So how did you transition over to Web3? Like how did that work? How did you get involved in it? And like what was it like when you first started getting involved in Web3 gaming?
So I wouldn't say I transitioned because I still play a lot of Web 2 games. I'd say that I incorporated. I started becoming so at end of 2015, beginning of 2016, my roommate comes home and starts talking about how about Bitcoin and blockchain technology and cryptographic hashes, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
The
It
usual
sounded
response.
yeah, right. And but it sounded really interesting to me, and so I didn't do anything for about 6 months. I probably would do a few things differently, but I mean, as they say, hindsight's or what do they say? Yeah, it's retrospective, right? In the I would have done a little differently, but it was I started educating myself after that time, and started learning a little bit more about um, digging a little bit deeper into the actual what it meant. And the further I went down the rabbit hole, the more interested I became. And especially when NFTs started really popping up and becoming popular, it became obvious to me at some point that blockchain and gaming was going to intersect. And that was kind of an exciting realization for me because yeah, that's when I finally did come across my neighbor Alice. I was like, ooh, if they pull this off, this is going to be really interesting because I really like the vision. So I felt like it was a really good way for the to go, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Um, how did you, sorry, did I ask you already? How did you discover M&A?
No, I found it organically. Like I said, I started becoming more educated in the technology and everything behind it, and so I started searching out like Web3 projects, and there was a lot of different ideas, but nothing that was kind of that met like kind of the idea that like the whole thing. And after doing some searches and stuff, I came up on my neighbor Alice, and it just in a search, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then I went over to the white papers and slogged through that, and I thought to myself, oh wow, this is this is really cool, because it really digs deep into decentralization, and it's very technical, but at the same time, like the vision is really really cool. So like, I I actually started. kind of early on, where I think it was in 2021, and they had a land lottery, or Money Browse had a land lottery where you could stake X number of your Alice, and you get so many tickets, and then you're entered into the lottery to win a plot. So I bought some Alice, and I was like, okay, I'll buy some more. I bought some more, and then I staked it, and lo and behold, I did not win.
I thought this was gonna be like a great, like, I won.
No, 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 no. But I still love the vision, right? So I thought, oh, this is really cool. So at the end of it, I thought to myself, I'm still gonna take the plunge. So I took the Alice, I unstaked it, and then I bought a plot before there was any actually even any product at all. And then
Mhm.
yeah, so I just that was kind of how I got introduced to Tell My Neighbor Alice, and I just kind of held it there for a while. So yeah, that's how I started.
Wow. Well, you've been here from the beginning. I'm so glad that you stuck around because, yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it on quite a few open mics. Like, our game has come a really long way,
So
and
far.
yeah, it's come so far. It's fantastic. You've been there every step of the way, so thank you. You've really seen us from the beginning stages until now, and now working towards our biggest release. It's going to be fantastic. So
Yeah, I'm
that's
very
awesome.
excited. So much stuff
Yeah.
to share. So many cool things that are just like right on the horizon.
Yeah, definitely. The vision of Alice, it definitely, I mean, that's something that resonates with me a lot as well, because that's obviously why I've been here for so long. And like everybody on our project, we have so many people that have been here from the beginning that are still here, and we're also passionate about it because I find that it really like speaks to each person individually, it's like really built on the messaging that's in the game, like self-expression and communicating with others and adventures and really like confidence building, I find, and teaching you how to be patient because building a plot and receiving everything and then having to wait until everything grows and just crafting, it takes time. And so I
Yeah,
feel like yeah, I feel like with the way that our world is right now, a lot of people kind of forget to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey because of how like technology is these days. Like, now I'm going on a tangent, but something that I'm really passionate about because like, I had like Stefania and Joanna was on like the very first open mic with me, and we really talked about like our fitness needs, and that's like really where I started to understand being patient is something that you have to do if you have an end goal in mind that you're trying to achieve. Like, you're not just gonna start one day and then get there right away. There's so much stuff that happens in between, and like, even if it's like I don't know, some successful like CEO or a project that's gone viral, or like any NFT brands that we're following, like, it's not like that's just happened overnight success. Like, we don't really know what those people or projects like went through in the process to get there, or how many hurdles they had to jump over, or how many times they had to restart, like, um so
definitely.
yeah, I feel like we've also gone through a lot of that over at M&A, like, just by listening to what the community wants and applying that in our game and understanding what's going on in the world and in our climate of Web3 even, and applying that to our game. And so like, I feel like every release that we've done has always become better and better and better, but it's because all of us working on the game are coming in with a mentality that like, we know how to make a great game, but we want to learn more and we want to know what everybody wants because it's really a community driven game, and you guys really help us make the game.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. And you can see the passion behind the players and the team as well. Like it's a I put out I put out so many suggestions when I'm very vocal. So when it came time for the Discord suggestions, I put out as many as I possibly could because I mean, what's the worst that happens? They don't go through. But surprisingly, a lot of them actually do go through. There's a level of there's certain things that that just maybe you can't add to a game, but then there's a level of it where it's like, hey, if that makes sense, it'll 100% get added to it if it's something that that is, if it's desired by the community, and that it's something that that'll actually benefit the players. And that's one of the things that really resonated with me, is just how much, how well the community is able to express what they want, and how much my neighbor out the team listens to that, and incorporates it in one way or another. Because you're right, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that maybe that's kind of a common thing between, like, I think that everyone thought, okay, we're going to make this game and then it's going to come out in this time frame, but that's not always necessarily the way things work, especially if you want to do something right. If you want to do it right, sometimes it takes additional time. Sometimes a bear market comes in and things change. Sometimes there's a disease that, so that halts. There's just so many different things, you know.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I think that if you look at it from like the whole picture, um, doing it right is always got to be on the top tier. It's always got to be the number one. So if it takes an additional time and you have to put more work in it to come up with a product that is the right product, the thing that people want, it's worth taking the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I feel like it's different for everybody. It's different for every project too, because you do it the way that's right for your project.
Mm.
So that's what we're doing here, right? That's why we believe so much in this game, and our community helps us, and we have like an unbelievable amount of support. So yeah, it's been really nice. There's so many exciting things to come, and like we have so many things that we're going to be talking about in the future, and looking back at this moment and being like, remember when we had that conversation about the right time for us? It's now.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking on like how much we involve the community in our game, what made you want to become such an active member of the community initially before becoming our community manager?
That's a twofold or two-parter. I'd say that the first thing, or and they're equal in my eyes. The first thing would be the team that's behind the scenes. Like I said, I joined early during Alpha Season 1, and where it was very remedial, and there wasn't really, it was just like, hey, we're still here, we still remember you guys, we're still working in the background. And
Hmm.
then every iteration of the game was substantially better, new features, prettier, and just I could just see the passion from behind it. And then the other one that I'd say that's equal is the community. The community made me want to be more active. Every time I came online, I was well received. I was very active during the first and second. Well, first was very short, kind of left you wanting more, like, oh come on, we want more. And then the second one was that there was quite a bit more. And third, I had some real life stuff to deal with, like everyone does in their life, so I didn't play as much. And then when I came back in Alpha Season 4, same thing. It was just well received. Welcome back. And these are, how do I do this? Oh yeah, this is how fishing works now. This is, oh, did you know you could plant and you can do this? And this is the least toxic community I've ever been in. Everyone here wants to help each other. It's very organic and genuine in the way that the people interact. That's not to say that there's not any issues here and there, because because it's still people. But I'd say that basically this is one of the best communities I've ever been in. So they pushed me forward. They made me want to be more active. And I'm still super active, even as the community manager. I'm always online. I'm always present, lurking.
Just a lurker in the background. Love that. Well, yeah, I mean, okay, so I was chatting with you a bit about this, but like when I first got into Web3, like understanding like what a community is for a project was something that I had to do research on and like really understand and ask questions, because I didn't really know. This is my first time. Um, I mean, it's my first time working on a game, and so it's my first time like seeing like how the community works and exactly what they do. So that's interesting that you say that they're like, this is not a toxic community. Obviously, it's a very like welcoming and like supportive community. But were there times where you were like part of communities that weren't super like helpful or not so supportive? Like, I'm just curious, like how, I mean, you don't have to go into like the nitty gritties if you did experience that, but like what that may have been like. And I basically like, I'm just curious, like what people should be looking for when they decide to invest so much of their time into a game or thinking about if they should be part of a community?
Sure. I mean, I can just speak openly about it. I've been in some communities where they were much less helpful. I played WoW for a while too, and unfortunately, when you have such a huge base of people, the averages go up. You have cool people, and then you have not so cool people, and unfortunately, you get toxic communities that kind of that want to bring in and kind of troll people and bring people down. I don't notice that so much with my neighbor Alice. I think big part of that is due to people wanting to help one another. So if you're looking for something to like a good sign of a game that where, in my opinion, or a community that you'd want to be part of, it would be that collaborative effort. There's times where I've seen people that are get on the game and they're like, how much for this? And they're like, well, I have like 17 Bjorn. And they're like, oh, well, don't even worry about it then. Here, I'll just give it to you. And of course, they could sell it on the market and maybe make themselves a small profit, but they chose to be part of the community and to help a person out over taking profits, and that's pretty rare to have see someone giving up. I mean, even if it's just a few cents here and there, I mean, that's that sense of togetherness. I don't see a lot, and so yeah, that would be one of the things that I would definitely look for in a healthy community. It's or something that I'd want.
You know, that warms my heart a lot. I think Ifori said something about Alice warming his heart too. It's the true nature of neighbors, Tassel. Because like, back I mean, I don't know if people do this anymore. I haven't done it. I don't know if I've ever done it, but like you can go to your neighbor and knock on their door and ask to borrow some sugar. And, if they're a great neighbor, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to come back and knock on your door and ask you for that like teaspoon of sugar that you borrowed from them because they just want you to have it because they're being a nice neighbor and they're supporting you with whatever you need the sugar for your coffee you're baking, whatever. So,
Yeah,
that reminds me exactly of that because it's like I'm so glad that you said that because that's exactly like what we try to foster in our game. The feeling that we want everybody to have is that you want to be here and you're included and you're supportive and you're welcomed. Even if you're a new neighbor that's never been in the game before and you're just figuring it out. Like, I think the very first time I played Alice, I typed in the chat, "Hey everyone, I'm new here." And right away, someone was like, "I'm new here too, like, welcome." But I just felt so like welcomed, like, and
yeah,
like happy. And even though like I'm not like the most frequent gamer, like, and I was just trying to figure it out, like, usually I get a little bit nervous when something isn't like my wheelhouse of things, but
me too.
I felt like totally comfortable just saying like, "Hey, I'm trying to find this specific fish, like where is it?" Or, "How do you craft this item?" Like, I felt so comfortable. So I'm really glad that you touched on that, and I'm glad that that is how everybody is feeling in our community as well.
Yeah, and I think that I think it comes up organically too, because you go out and in the beginning you do struggle like you do in any game. You're still trying to figure it out. You don't know the systems. You don't have any money. You're really just you're starting kind of bare bones. And
Yeah,
anyone who else who's already enjoying the game wants you to enjoy it like they are. So a lot of times people will pick that as their main motivation. It's like, oh, I want you to feel how I feel. Here is a chair that you want. Here's a couple fish. Here's a fishing pole. And I think that Web3 really facilitates that well too, because you can trade everything, because you can help out people. I think that a crypto gets kind of a bad name in a lot of ways, but I think that its utility is equal or greater to the bad aspects of it. So I don't know. I
yeah.
think that my neighbor Alice really nailed it on that. And I think that when people see the future plans, I think that they're going to be very surprised and happy as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, that kind of leads into another question I had because I was going to ask you, like, for somebody who might not be so into crypto, like, how can they benefit from playing M&A? Because, I mean, we sort of already touched on this a lot, because M&A is so much more than crypto. Like, sure, we have our own token, but like, when you come into our game, I feel like that's like the last thing because we want you to feel like you're at home, you're at peace, and you have the space where you belong. So um even if you're part of a like if you're an NFT owner and you're part of a community, like that's great. You have that support system, you have that base. But I feel like with M&A, we really give you a space where you can like coexist with your community and tailor your plot to match your personality and your avatar and everything for all of your neighbors to experience. So yeah, I'm curious to know. I mean, we've kind of talked about it, but tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, well, I think that one of the biggest benefits for me, like just, from personal experience, would be the creative outlet. I think that that's what it offers. I mean, a lot of games offer creative outlets, but this one's is different. You bring in the whole, the decentralization, the fact that you can earn a little bit here and there, or, and just the way that it's put together, where it's community first, where people are wanting, like, if you have a healthy community, steady growth, a team that listens to to the community and keeps trying to incorporate. That's a very healthy system, in my opinion. I think that's what made me very interested. I was lucky enough that during the what was it called? The Blooms competition, where my I won the Blooms competition, but it didn't get counted. There was a mismatch in the points, and I became the 11th person instead of the 10th. And I wrote in and I said, just very, politely, I was like, hey, this is, I don't think that this works out right. And Steve, the big guy, got back to me and said to me, he said, hey, he was like, I'm sorry that this didn't happen this way. I don't normally reach out, but I just want to let you know that this is, that we hear you. And I knew right then that it was a community that actually cares about its players. I wasn't just another member. I was an actual person that mattered to the project itself, and someone, and yeah. So I was sold at that point. So I think that other people kind of would feel the same way too. They'll feel value and feel valued
Mhm.
in the community. So yeah, that's what I look for.
Ah, okay, nice. I remember that happening too. It is a big deal for us when something like that happens internally. We want to make sure that, yeah, that we're always like paying attention to what happens and, we have the right outcomes for any type of competitions that we do. So interesting, because that was before I knew you personally. So I'm glad that that was fixed. And I mean, Steve is amazing. So I'm glad you had a chance to chat with him, even if it was brief. I've got to get him on open mic. We have him set up for the future. So we'll
Oh,
get him on at
nice.
a very special time.
Awesome. Hopefully I'll get to join on one of those. That would be fun.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. There's lots of open mics to come in the future, so definitely for sure.
Oh,
Okay, well, I want to see some of your favorite in-game spots from Alice, if you want to show me.
sure.
So let's get that going here. Um, okay, let's see them.
There we go. So this one holds, you just want me to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, let's tell
Okay,
us about
perfect.
it.
Yeah, so this one holds a lot of significance for a lot of reasons. Firstly, it's a trial plot that was loaned to me from my neighbor Alice, and the reason this one kind of holds significance. First off, it's beautiful, right? I don't mean what I've created. I mean where it's at. Pioneer Point is such a beautiful, lush green. Everything works with it. So whoever put this together, the design is just absolutely amazing. But the reason that this one holds kind of significance to me is that not only am I here, but they put us next to me next to other players that were kind of more avid players in My Neighbor Alice. So it kind of shows you what you can do if you have people that are all working together to kind of create this cohesive thing. So I created the courtyard here, the one that's kind of in the shape of a heart with the bridge going across. And my wife, the cupcake, she created the castle in the background, and ours plots meet in the middle of the bridge. So this is actually two plots that are kind of stuck together. And yeah, I just really like the idea. I'll move around a little bit so you can kind of see. But this is just part of it. Right behind me is Super Soju, and she makes
Oh,
amazing. Everything she does is amazing. It's absolutely
yeah.
beautiful. Her work is just stunning, and this
Oh,
would take
so cool.
so long to create. So yeah, I was
Yes.
this one holds a lot of significance to me because it's also right here by the town hub, and you can kind of see once you start building and putting things together. Just look at the frog is so cool.
So cute.
You can just see like people that are actually passionate about it. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Nathy's as well. He our Blood Moon. He creates some
Yes.
amazing creations over here. That's what I mean. It's so much stuff to look at, and when you get
Yeah.
all of these creative people right next to each other, you can come up with some amazing design. Just absolutely beautiful. This takes a long time to come up with this, and a lot of passion that goes into it. I
Yeah.
know for a fact.
You know firsthand. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, this is so amazing. Thank you so much for bringing us here. Definitely, I mean, I can imagine how inspiring it must be to be situated right in between like Super Soju and Blood Moon. Like,
Mhm.
and then like I guess you guys would see each other's like creativity and then get inspired and create things on your plot because of that. And yeah, like work together and build together and enjoy the journey together. So that's so cool. I love this. What's your
Thank
favorite
you.
part
And see
about
right
this?
here, just you see how this little white line, that's where my land ended and hers began. I saw that
Oh,
she was
yes.
building something over here, so I made mine match up. That's what I mean. If you plan it out, you can have them. I mean, here's my pathway that leads directly into her land.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. What were you gonna ask?
Oh no, I just asked like what your favorite part about this, I mean, these combined plots here are.
I think well, my favorite part is that we're all together here. That's another of the big community things where it's really nice having mine right next to Blood Moons, right next to my wife Cupcake, right next to I think this is Mudo or Taka. One of the I'm sorry, if I didn't get the right person in there, there's so many beautiful things here that it's sometimes hard to remember everyone's. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's my favorite thing is being right next to everyone. My favorite thing that I created here was my bridge, because last season I started making during the one of the competitions I started creating walls like a crazy person, and I just kept creating them, and I turned it into because there's like I said there's not a current way to make a true bridge, but I thought to myself I could still simulate one and make something that kind of that looks like one, and I think it turned out really really well.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that looks awesome.
and the kind of the symbolism, right? Like it is literally a bridge going that's bridging our lands together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Aw, I love it. Oh, wait, is this where we did the flash mob last week?
Yes, it is. Yeah, right in
Oh,
here.
wow. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah,
I love this. Yeah, when you had it set up last week, I was just thinking like what a beautiful landscape this is. So, yeah, it's
yeah.
so
Thank
nice.
you.
Okay. Um, do you have another spot that you wanted to share as well?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll share another one here. Let me pull up a map, and I
Awesome.
will go to. So this is a one in Tourney Worlds. This one's primarily a lot of yellows and kind of the golden rays from the sun. Really pretty. I always pick this one
Hmm.
when I'm doing trying to make a challenge a little harder because the sun rays can kind of block your camera a little bit. So if I'm trying to be particularly mean on a jumping course, I pick the one where the rays are right in your eyes when you're trying to make a difficult jump. But, but I never said that
That's
all of
so
mine were nice. I
funny.
just tried to make them. So this one right here
Mhm.
it was my first ever plot. This is the one that I bought when I was diving into my neighbor Alice for the very first time. I'll go up so you can kind of get a more
Ooh.
aerial view. And the reason that this one holds significance to me is because, first off, it was my very first one. I wouldn't get rid of this one. I don't care if it's got good land or legendary. This one I'll hold on to forever. And it's a bit cluttered because it's my first one. And I tried to incorporate everything. I have my very first maze here that I
Cool.
created. I have my lookout tower that I've kind of changed where you have to jump up to the top of it. My little top part. I've got a little a little swimming pool in the corner.
Oh, nice. I love that. I'd hang out there.
I got a little call shout out to Zelda because it was one of my favorite video game franchise. I even
Yes,
have little hidden
same.
areas that I created, in case anyone wants to go to the cemetery.
Oh, cute. Oh my God, that's so funny. I
But
love
yeah,
it.
so this is and see the sun. See how it's like you see how it's shining like just
Yeah.
rays, just like so. that's kind of what I was talking about. But yeah, so this one holds a lot of significance to me, mostly for nostalgia, because it's not situated in the best position. It doesn't have the best stats, but it's one of those ones that I remember figuring out how to play the game on this plot. You know,
Yeah.
how to use the landscaping feature properly, and how to make it so that and I remember being very frustrated at certain points and having to rip down whole sections. And it's all part of the process. Like they say, Rome wasn't built overnight. Well, neither was this. It took quite
Yeah.
a lot of effort to get it, and it's definitely not my best design, but it's the one that holds the most significance to me.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing. Okay, wait, there's two things I want to say. If there is anybody that is watching or listening right now that has any questions for Tassel on these two plots that he shared, please let us know in the comments and we'll get him to answer some of those questions. But do you remember what the very first item you crafted was? And is it still on this plot? Taking you way back now. You got to jog your memory.
Yeah, the very first item it would have definitely been whatever the very first quest is. I'm very quest driven. The very first time I played, just as a little opener here, the very first time that I played My Neighbor Alice, I played it in the rushed way. I didn't read any of the quests. I just blasted through everything, trying to get through everything as fast as possible because I liked what it looked like, but I that wasn't the way that I play the first time. And then the second time, I did it exactly the opposite way. I read through the quest. I really enjoyed myself. And let me tell you, reading the quest makes things a lot easier, especially
Of
in a
course.
game that's still being developed because like there's still a lot of you have to figure out where you're going and what you're doing, and if you don't read the quest, that's almost that's but I will say that also gets you really communicating a lot because a lot you'll say, oh, where do I find this? And it's like, well, if you would have read the quest,
Yeah.
you would have known where to find that. But that got me talking to the community and meeting up with other people that had already completed the quests. And
Hmm.
everything about My Neighbor Alice is very organic. If you, I like to compare it to like a snowball. It starts off kind of slow, and you're trying to figure out how to do it, and when you start crafting, and then as it starts building momentum, it becomes more. I have so many items now. I don't have enough space on a single plot to put them all, and I really like that because that gives me so many creative options for what I want to make and how I want to make it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely. How do you think well, another thing that I wanted to ask was any like advice that you might have to new neighbors that are going to join us because I have a feeling that we might have a lot of new neighbors coming into our game in the future.
I have a,
But also like in hand with that question, like I mean, when you first started Alice to now, obviously you've become like an expert crafter and at playing the game. So how was that journey for you? How long do you feel like it took you before you became like really, really comfortable with the gameplay and like basically finding yourself in the game? So
I'd
yes, two
say
questions.
yeah, I'd say it took me about a season to really to really get it. If you're going to do it in the right way, at least like where you take your time and learn how to do it. So I'd say what took me the longest is learning how to landscape properly. There's a whole aspect. I have some suggestions on that I share too with the landscaping tool. There's a lot of features that are being improved in the background. I think that people don't realize just how much is going on from how passionate the team is about giving the community what they want.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the landscaping feature took me a while to get down. I didn't start, that maze that I created for Game Night 2. I could not have done that the last season. It took me, learning how to play and understanding how items contrast well with other with certain lands, and just even knowing where to build it. Like I chose Pioneer Point because Pioneer Point looks good with everything. Every item looks amazing with that. And
Yeah.
but some lands are more will kind of obscure certain features, and so it just became really important. It, it took me the short answer is it took me the whole season to get comfortable with every aspect of it. Because then the next season, when you add those any new features, it kind of comes as a natural extension.
Hmm.
And what was the other
Gotcha.
question? I'm sorry.
Any advice you might give to new neighbors that are going to be coming into our game, or maybe even neighbors that are already in our game but have not been in for very long?
That's that same, like I was saying, talking about with the snowball. Keep crafting and keep making items and keep doing stuff in the game, because the more you play My Neighbor Alice, the more enjoyable it is. You can how I can express myself now is so much different because of how many things that I own, and it doesn't have to be things that you pay for. You don't have to spend any money. Like, you could just make items out of Bjorn and just play the game like that, or you can craft prime items like I have. I you don't, but keep playing it. Keep crafting, because
Yeah.
once you kind of get into it and start seeing the benefits of having all these things, you can make some amazing ideas. Like, I definitely have come a lot more. I've grown a lot since I started playing. When I started, I didn't kind of have a concept of how I was going to build things, and now, even with my ideas for next season, I already have ideas about what I want to build and how I want to build it and how I'm going to do it differently.
Nice. Well, I mean, this is like a true testament. We were seeing your very first plot. Do you still make adjustments to this one, or do you just leave it as is to bask in the glory of your first plot?
No, I made adjustments. So this section right here, where you see these the flowers that are kind of wrapping around, and then the trampolines, you have to use the
Hmm.
trampolines to get up to the top section. Originally, this was a spiral staircase that you could just walk up to the top. Um,
Gotcha.
I haven't changed the maze at all, but like in the new the Game Night 2 maze that I made, you notice that they're all 4 pixels wide, or spaces wide. That's so that it doesn't have that claustrophobic feeling. And I learned that from this one. You try to walk through
Hmm.
here, and it's really easy to get turned around, and that's good in a maze. But it's also can feel claustrophobic, and that's not necessarily always fun. Um,
Hmm. That's
yeah, so
so
yes.
like that's really nice because you can literally go back to this very first maze that you made and see how you made it, and then go to the one you made for game night and see how much you've improved, like how many things you've done different. And just because you have done, like, you have spent enough time in Alice to like really get the feel for everything and become comfortable with everything. And so now it's like, yeah, you can like visually see how far you've come just by playing Alice. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's exactly it too. Like, I realize when I start and I building now, I kind of have 2 different methods of building a plot now. I have a very organized way where I have a clear goal in mind, where I start building and keep making like iterations on it until I get to where I want to be. And then I have like a free form, almost like if you imagine art, where if you know exactly what you want to draw versus having no idea, but you kind of want to see what comes out. That's kind of how I do my plots. I've created some, in my opinion, that's all my opinion, some really good designs that I had no idea when I started what it was even going to be, and then even better than some of the ones I plan. And then the opposite is also true. I've created some stuff where I was like, oh, I'm really glad that turned out. One that I'm particularly proud of. I think it was from last, or maybe it's from earlier. Anyway, it was the floor is lava, where I stuck 2 plots together, and that one was one where I had to really map out every single aspect of it to make sure that it works. Especially when you're working with 2 plots stuck together, you have to really kind of map everything out.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, last question today.
Sure.
What is your favorite thing about playing Alice?
My very favorite thing about playing Alice is so there's so many things so many things to come up with. I mean, my favorite thing to do is to landscape. That's the thing I do the most of, and all my time and passion has been poured into that. As you can see, I that's why I created the second game night the way that I did. I really spent a lot of time putting that together. But my favorite
Mm,
thing about My Neighbor Alice is the community here. It's spending time and getting to know the people and seeing other people get as excited as me. It's really gratifying when I can see that someone else is experiencing the game the way that I am. And I think that kind of speaks volumes about the community too. Because when I
yeah.
started, it was a couple people, and it's starting to grow, and it's getting a little bit bigger. And I see people out and they're just I'll just wander and I see someone out there fishing and they're just kind of just relaxing and doing their own thing. Maybe they don't want to talk that day, but they're still enjoying themselves. I know exactly how that feels. I know how it feels is even as the the community manager. It's like I don't want to talk right now. I want to do my own thing and just kind of enjoy seeing people talk in the background. And then other times I just want to jabber and talk to people about everything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got me for that because like I'm always up to yapping, but um but yeah, definitely. I know what you mean because I also have surprisingly, I also have days where I don't want to talk to anyone too. And I definitely feel like in Alice, like our landscapes are very vast. So there is space for you to be completely by yourself and just enjoy each environment and be at peace. And then there are places where you can go to interact and have fun and socialize how you want to. So it's really on your terms and what's comfortable for you. So that's really wonderful.
I agree. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, this has been so awesome. I feel like I've gotten to know you so much better because of this conversation. I definitely will have you on open mic again in the
Oh,
future
great.
because I feel like there's so much more that we could talk about that we didn't touch on today. And of course, when we do our big release later on this year, there will be so much more to talk about and so many more things that I'll want you to show me because I know you've got lots of little sneaky tips and tricks as well that we didn't even touch on today. So,
I definitely do. Yes, there's so much more that I could go into, but I'd love to come on again. I think it's been great being able to jabber at you, really, just to kind of talk about some of the things that I love about it and how um, how I think the game is doing. And yeah, it's just an amazing environment, and I really appreciate the invite to open mic.
aw, thanks. Well, we're so happy that you were able to join today. We're so glad that you are our community manager, Tassel. You're awesome. And thank you to our community as well for being so great and supportive. And we are so happy to have you all as our neighbors. Next week, I will be away traveling. So I will be back on open mic the following week, coming to you from a completely different country and a different city. I'm very excited for that. And with my dog. I have yet to introduce Benji, he's just like my whole heart, this little guy, my little dog on open mic. So maybe you will get the opportunity to see him in 2 weeks' time. So if you want to see my little in-house neighbor, feel free to tune in then. Any last words, Tassel, before we sign off?
Just that I really appreciate being here and that I'm really happy with the community and I'm so I feel very blessed that everyone came on here to hang out with us today. So that's it.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you everybody for hanging out and for joining us. Thank you all for your wonderful comments. We hope that you enjoy the rest of the day and we will chat with you soon.
Bye.
Bye.